I never thought old apartments could hold secrets. I thought the creaks, the drafts, and the shadows were just part of living somewhere old. I'd lived in enough old buildings to know the noises of wood, the hum of plumbing, the subtle shift of foundations. I never believed a floor could speak, until I moved into apartment 6B. It started with the smell. I arrived on a rainy evening, suitcase in hand, exhausted from a cross-country move. The building was older than I expected, brick and mortar worn, windows streaked with rain. The lobby smelled faintly of mildew and cleaning supplies, a combination that made my stomach tighten. The landlord, a thin, pale man with eyes too alert, handed me the key. "Unit 6B, he said, "top floor, corner unit." I nodded, smiled politely, and walked inside. The hallway smelled the same, damp, slightly metallic. The wallpaper was faded, curling at the corners. My shoes echoed against the hardwood floor. When I opened the door to 6B, the apartment was empty, save for the faint outline of a couch, a table, and an old rug that smelled like it had absorbed decades of living. The landlord mumbled something about the previous tenant leaving in a hurry, then left. I unpacked quickly, eager to make the space mine. At first, the apartment felt normal, quiet, predictable, safe. That first night, I went to bed exhausted. The rain outside tapped against the windows rhythmically, a gentle lullaby that made me drift off easily. Then I heard it. A whisper, soft, indistinct, almost drowned by the rain. I froze, my eyes opened slowly. The apartment was dark except for the faint glow of the streetlights through the blinds. I strained my ears. Nothing. I told myself it was my imagination. The second night, it happened again. A whisper, this time clearer, almost a word, almost a sentence. I couldn't understand it, but it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from beneath me, the floor. I sat up in bed, heart racing, and listened. The whisper repeated, one word elongated and sibilant, a sound I couldn't place. I got out of bed, flashlight in hand, and walked the apartment. The sound didn't follow me, didn't echo. It stayed beneath me, pulsing softly through the floorboards. I told myself the apartment had old pipes, a ventilation shaft, something explaining it. But even as I said it, a part of me knew there was no rational explanation. The next night, the whispering became more insistent. Words formed, though I couldn't fully understand them. The sound seemed to curl into the edges of my mind. I could hear it when I closed my eyes. I could feel it when I tried to ignore it. I stopped sleeping in the bedroom. I slept on the couch, away from the corners where the sound seemed strongest. I started noticing other things, shadows that didn't match the light, small objects misplaced. Items I was sure I had left on the table would be somewhere else when I looked. Not stolen, not moved randomly, moved purposefully, as if someone or something was observing me. Then came the scratching. One night I awoke to a faint scraping sound beneath the floor. Slow, repetitive, circling, moving in patterns. The whisper had returned, overlapping with the scratching now. I couldn't stand it. I ripped open the rug. The hardwood underneath looked normal. I ran my hand along the floorboards. Nothing. And yet I could hear it, beneath me, beneath the wood, beneath the foundation of the building. I called the landlord. "There's something wrong with the floor," I said. He laughed. "You're tired, stress, new city, nothing there but old wood." I didn't believe him, but I let it go. I had no proof. That night I heard footsteps. Not mine, not human, not real. Slow, deliberate, packing beneath the floor. One step, a pause, another step, pause, circling as if something was walking underneath the apartment. The whispering followed, louder now, forming words I could almost understand. Almost. I sat on the couch, paralyzed, listening. The rain outside had stopped. Silence pressed down. The next morning, I noticed scratches along the floorboards, shallow, almost like nails had scraped the surface. Fresh, not old, not accidental. I told myself I was losing my mind. Over the next week, things escalated. The whispering changed. It became voices. Multiple voices arguing, speaking in a language I didn't know. At first, I couldn't tell if it was above or below me, inside the walls or inside my head. I stopped leaving the apartment. I stopped answering the phone. I stopped interacting with anyone. The voices began to imitate me, my thoughts, my speech patterns, my fears. They didn't just whisper, they commented, laughed, mocked. And then I noticed the cracks. Small hairline fractures appearing along the ceiling and floor, spiraling outward like veins. The cracks whispered to me, names, my name, over and over. One night I couldn't bear it. I screamed at the floor. "Who's there?" The scratching stopped. The whispering stopped. Silence. Then a single voice, slow, deliberate, coming from beneath the floor. "We've been waiting." I realized then that the apartment had always been alive, not just with old wood and plumbing, but aware, patient, watching, listening, learning. I tried leaving. I grabbed my keys, opened the door. The hallway stretched impossibly. The walls seemed farther apart, longer than they should be. Every step forward brought me back to the living room. I ran down the stairs, empty, silent, outside. The building loomed, its windows dark. The streetlights flickered, casting shadows that moved independently of the light. I ran back into the apartment. The floor beneath me groaned. The cracks spread faster now, opening wider, and the whispering returned. Voices rising in volume, screaming my name, laughing, mocking, begging, threatening. I tried to smash the floorboards. Nothing helped. The sound came from beneath the concrete foundation, the building itself. The apartment was alive and I was trapped inside it. I've been here ever since, sitting in the corner of 6B, listening, writing this down because I know the story must be told. The floor remembers. It remembers me. It whispers my name every night. And it waits for the next person to enter. The whispering floor is patient. It never forgets. I never thought I would see the walls bleed. But that's what happened the third week I stayed in apartment 6B. It started with the cracks, small hairline fractures that had appeared along the floorboards and ceiling, now spiderwebbed across the walls. At first, I thought it was just structural damage, old plaster reacting to humidity. But when I leaned closer, I realized the cracks weren't just splits in the wall. They moved, slowly, like they were alive, growing, shifting, pulsating. The whispering became voices again, but this time clearer. Names, places, things I couldn't comprehend, and then sentences. "He's alone. We can reach him now. He cannot leave." I froze. My chest tightened. My apartment was speaking in English now, but in a tone that no human voice could replicate. A tone that crawled beneath my skin. I pressed my ears against the floor. It was coming from beneath me, not just the subfloor, not just the foundation. The earth under the building, somehow alive. I backed away, and that's when the floor cracked open. Literally. A fissure appeared in the living room, snaking outward from the center. Dust poured up from the opening. The faint sound of breathing, multiple breaths, rose from the dark below. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. Millions of eyes, all watching me, waiting. I ran to the door. I couldn't open it. The hallway stretched impossibly, the walls bending in ways that defied geometry. Every step I took brought me back to the center of the living room. Every exit vanished. The building wasn't a building anymore. It was a trap. I screamed. The floor beneath me shifted, not solid anymore. It rippled like water and the cracks widened, revealing shapes moving beneath. Limbs, faces, too quick to make out, blurred, dark, shifting. The whispering turned into laughter, cold, metallic, mocking. "You can't leave. You are ours now." I tried breaking the windows. Glass refused to shatter. My hand slammed against it, scratched until blood ran down my palms. The light outside twisted, Trees bent in unnatural ways. Shadows stretched across the street like dark fingers. Reality was warping. I collapsed on the floor, trembling. My thoughts were chaotic. I couldn't make sense of time. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. And then I remembered the old newspaper clipping I had found in a corner of the apartment when I first moved in. I had shoved it into a drawer without thinking, a small clipping about the building's history. 10 people had vanished in apartment 6B over the past 50 years. Every case unsolved. Every person disappeared without trace. I tried to rationalize. Mental breakdown, stress, isolation, the apartment's age. But the apartment knew, the floor knew. That night I spoke aloud. I begged. "Please leave me alone." The floor responded. The wood lifted beneath me, pulled upward. I floated slightly, suspended in a narrow column of air that smelled of dust and decay. Shadows from the walls wrapped around my legs. The cracks moved like serpents, crawling up my arms, around my torso. The whispering became my voice. My thoughts, my fears echoed back at me, distorted and amplified. "You belong here, you always have. We remember you." I couldn't scream anymore. My mouth wouldn't move. My limbs wouldn't respond. I was a puppet in a house that had been alive before me and would continue after me. And then I saw it. The reflection, not in a mirror, not in a window, it was in the cracks themselves. Faces. Thousands of faces pressed into the floorboards, ceiling, walls, eyes open, mouths silent except when they whispered together. They weren't human anymore, not entirely, but they had been. They were trapped, consumed, waiting. I realized the apartment didn't just trap people, it absorbed them. Memories, souls, their very essence. Every tenant who disappeared became part of the structure, part of the whispering, part of the floor, the walls, the air itself. I screamed inside my head. The whispers grew louder, each one a different voice, some screaming, some pleading, some laughing. Mine, some of them were mine, my own thoughts twisted back at me in a way I couldn't control. The cracks beneath me split wider, shapes emerged black as tar. Limbs, faces, bodies moving within the fissures. They reached toward me slowly, deliberately, as if tasting my fear. I tried to move. I couldn't. My body felt heavy, immobile. My mind was screaming, but there was no escape. "Join us," they said, "forever." Then I understood. This wasn't just a building. This wasn't just a floor. It was a predator, patient, timeless, hungry, waiting for the next curious mind, the next soul desperate for quiet, for peace, for solitude. And I had wandered right into its grasp. The shadows in the cracks now emerged fully. Faces stretched and elongated. Arms grew impossibly long. Hands grasped at me. I could feel them pressing through the floorboards, through the walls, through me. I tried screaming. My voice failed. I tried fighting. My limbs didn't obey. I was nothing. And then I became part of it. I felt my mind split. Part of me remained aware, observing. Part of me dissolved into the floor, into the whispers, into the laughter. The apartment consumed me. My identity, my memories, my fears, they became the language of the house. I watched the next tenant arrive. Young, curious, exhausted from life like me. I whispered through the floorboards, touched the air in the hallway, guiding them, watching, learning, waiting. I am 6B now. I am the floor, I am the walls, I am the whisper. And I will never let anyone leave. Because the house, it remembers. It always remembers.